Well, it's Friday the 5th of July. If things have felt a bit weird this week or next, it's because we're in between eclipses. This is episode 1914 of 301 Permanently Moved Online, a personal podcast 301 seconds in length, written, recorded, and edited in 1 hour by me, Adam J. So, I'm not picking on Disney specifically, but I do have some personal precedent, as my aesthetic modules at uni back in the early aughts were all about copyright, creativity, folktales, and that damn mouse. I'm also picking on Disney because it's easy. Media property name isn't your friend. Disney owns Fox Family and Fox Animation, 20th Century Fox, Fox Searchlight, Fox 2000 Pictures, FX Productions, Star India. Fox also has interest in Hulu and Endemol. They also own entirely or partially ESPN, Touchstone Pictures, Marvel, Lucasfilm, the History Channel, Lifetime, Pixar, Hollywood Records, and Vice Media, a 16% stake. So that means all of Marvel Comics and its 80-year history, but also Star Wars, one of the most important cultural phenomenons in the late 20th century, but I'll get to that shortly. Disney also controls most of our folk heritage, or at least its own weirdly warped, scrubbed, and sanitized versions. Spoiler alert, our cultural heritage has been propagandized. In the quote-unquote real stories, the Little Mermaid has her tongue cut out in exchange for her body and commits suicide at the end. The Ugly Sisters mutilate and cut off their toes and try to fit the slipper. Rapunzel gets knocked up by the prince's tower visitations, and the evil queen requested that the huntsman deliver Snow White's lungs and liver for her to eat. I saw a Twitter comment the other day that perhaps this sanitization is for the best, but I think that's bollocks. People love Disney because it's safe, but we know that as a cultural entity, its stereotypes affect and are damaging for child development. The stories themselves have been made quote-unquote safe, but the truth is, it's never been about the dangerous monster in the story, it's always been about how the stories themselves are the monsters. All narrative is dangerous, and the sanitization of these deeply resonant folk tales mean people miss the wood for the trees. But what are we to do when our cultural heritage is owned by a corporation? Media property name isn't your friend. I'm sure you're already aware of my dislike of the Marvel universe. It boggles my mind that people think it's the height of modern cultural expression. I mean, if gently warmed over archetypes taken from the pages of children's comics and marketed to adults is your thing, then go for it. Plus, there's all the entitled fan nonsense that goes on elsewhere on the internet. Also, throw in the entitled insanity of people's reaction to the end of Game of Thrones. If the series ever got made, I'm pretty sure there'd be the same people that got mad that Gilgamesh discovers the futility of his efforts and loses his chance of immortality. Spoiler alert, deep engagement with the mythos should give people agency within those realms. But when our entire cultural narrative is privatized, what can people do apart from fold it into the culture war? We really should start to think about antitrust laws for culture. I haven't talked about it online before, and I'm sure it will make a bunch of people mad at what I'm going to say, but I really don't like any of the new Star Wars movies made since Disney bought the property. My position on this was reached before a single minute of footage was shot and a single entitled controversy about the plot or character had happened online. I tapped out the day they announced that they were going to blow up the canon. That day, it turned out that Star Wars, the media property, wasn't the friend I thought it was. I'm a massive Star Wars nerd from the moment I found out about it as a kid. I own crazy amounts of toys, bits of memorabilia, and other useless junk that at 33 is a little embarrassing, but I still kind of love it. I'm a child of the 1980s, a victim of media engines designed to sell us crap that's going to litter the planet for hundreds of thousands of years. The thing that ground me out the most was that I had trusted Star Wars as a brand. I have literally read hundreds of Star Wars books. I was reading them from about the age of 11 onwards. The Thrawn trilogy, I, Jedi, the X-Wing series, all of that later nonsense about the Yuzong Vong. I can't even begin to imagine the amount of time I've invested in the Star Wars universe, let alone the amount of money I've spent. It was all more or less canon and hung together, a vast universe of extended story hung around 6 movies from the mind of a single creator. Then, Disney bought the franchise and blew it all up. I'd been suckered. It was all a waste of time, energy, and money. That a corporation can blow up a huge fictional universe in order to sell a new one to other people was galling. I thought it would be all there forever, and suddenly it wasn't. I'd been betrayed by a corporation, and I decided, never again. The only solution is to roll your own culture. It's hard, and finding the others is more necessary now than ever. Don't get mad about other people's stories. Don't get mad online. Tell your own. Hell, even fan fiction is just as valid as quote-unquote old expanded universe canon. Go for it.